For yes, Rabotai, there is a Sefer Habayit Yehudi, very beautiful Sefer. In Simon Dal, in page 88, he speaks over here about the halachot of Halicha B'darkei Hashem, that how a person always has to walk in the ways of Hashem. And we have to see how many of us actually do this. And I'll try to read it for you over here, and I'll try to give you a few examples how many of us do not actually do this, but we feel we do this. Meaning we think we daven, put on tefillin, we learn, keep Shabbat. We think this is the way of going in Hashem. Besides this being the way in going in Hashem, there's another factor that plays a role in Avodat Hashem, which is what, Binyamin? Midot, character traits. The person has no good, no. What is the word? Rabotai, he says over here, it's a mitzvah aseh min Torah. There's a positive commandment from the Torah. Lalechet b'darchei Hashem yitbarach. To go in the ways of Hashem, may He be blessed. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, v'halachta b'darachav, that you should go in His ways. We'll see what that means. Right? In Parshat Devarim, Perek Chavchet, pasuk Tet. Upishu chachmeinu zatzal. And our rabbis, they explained to me, of blessed memory. Rabotai, what does it mean to go in His ways? Yaakov, somebody. Rabotai, yes. Yaakov, yes, Dad Yaakov. Rabbi says, Mahu nikra chanun, just like Hashem is chanun, av ata haya chanun. Just like Hashem is gracious, so too you should be gracious. Mahu nikra rachum, av ata haya rachum. I will explain, Rabotai. Just like Hashem is merciful, so too you should be merciful. This is what it means to go in the ways of Hashem, Rabotai. Mahu nikra kadosh, av ata haya kadosh. Hashem is called holy, so too you should be holy. That's why it's not so partial, Rabotai. I'm telling you I tell you all the time. It's not enough to put on a kippah and a peyot and beard and do whatever you want. There is a concept that a person needs to walk in the ways of Hashem. So when you're doing something which is not in the ways of Hashem, automatically you're taking away from being holy. I don't want to start giving people examples, Rabotai. You guys have to already come up. Every time I speak about the same thing. That's why the prophets, they nicknamed Hashem. What do we say? Erech apayim, Hashem is slow to anger. V'rav chesed, He's very kindness. Tzaddik v'yosher, right? He's righteous and He's straight. Tamim, He's how do we say? Tamim, wholehearted, right? He's whole. Gibur, He's strong. V'chazak, same concept. That's why we give all of these midot basically to Hashem. Lohdi Rabotai, why did the Nevi'im give these nicknames to Hashem? To inform us, Shehem derachim tovim, that these are good ways that a person has to follow. V'yisharim, and they are straight. V'chayav adam, and I want to tell you something, Rabotai. He brings down over here on the source. This is, when I say v'chayav adam, meaning a person has an obligation. Just like you understand there's an obligation not to eat on Yom Kippur, or you have an obligation to put on tefillin, or you have an obligation to not sleep with other married women, whatever it is. Rabotai, he says over here, this is a halacha in the Rambam, in Perek Aleph, Mihilchot Deot, halacha Vav, and halacha Zayin. The Rambam brings it down exactly word for word. I checked it out today. He says, V'chayav Adam lanhig atzmo, bahem uladamut elav kifi kocho. A person is obligated, Rabotai, to go ahead and try to not to be like Hashem Chashor, Rabotai, he has to try to compare himself with all his power, try to resemble is a better word. He has to try to resemble Hashem as much as he can in these midot. Emulate. Thank you. Rabotai, if you look into halacha Zayin over there, he says, Harambam, he brings out like this. V'haholech b'derech zo, anybody goes in this derech of being merciful and righteous, etc. Mivi tova ubracha la'atzmo. Yaakov, you with me? He brings goodness and, how are you, Chaim David? He brings goodness and bracha to himself. Rabotai, we don't understand the secret. When you do what Hashem wants, this is what gives you blessing. Not when you do everything wrong and then you go to the rabbi and tell, Rabbi, just Allah, my son of the derech, my daughter of the derech, my daughter like this, my wife like this, my husband like this. What does the rabbi say? Wait, padashi. Ti mezuzah kada praveru. What does mezuzah have to do with you? Rabotai, it's not funny, Rabotai. A woman comes inside the house, inside the bedroom to the rabbi, open, completely open. Rabbi, me and my husband have shalom bayis issues. No problem. We in your room, the mezuzah is it upside down? Is it straight? What does the mezuzah have to do with you? Look the way you dress. You got a woman who's immodest. She brings all the curses on herself. A woman who doesn't cover her hair, Rabotai, you have no. If she's modest, she brings all the brachot on herself. But what do we think? Oh, mezuzah achai, Rabbi John, mezuzah achai. Это мужчин приходит, Rabbi John, парноса на работе нехорошо. А ты когда свой тефиллин проверял последний раз? What does the tefillin have to do with your bad ways? If you are a rotten, you do averos, and you think it's your tefillin. Tefillin is kadosh. Tefillin is not going to be affected, Rabotai. Tefillin. Oh, skажи. The problem is you. Work on your midot. No, tefillin mezuzah. Donate a sefer Torah to the shul. Not going to help you, Rabotai. A person, that's how you have. Rama, not me, Rabotai. Look over there in Halakha Zayin. You'll see right toward the end here. It writes, anybody goes in this ways, Hashem, He says, I give you all the goodness that there is, and I bless you. You want blessings? Do this. Rabotai, He says over here, however, al mitzvah zo, but anybody who transgresses on this mitzvah, ve'ena mishtadel yasher derachav, but he doesn't try to straighten his ways, right? He thinks he's a tzaddik because he davens mincha shacharit mincha aravit, and he thinks he learns an hour here, an hour there. He thinks he's a big tzaddik, but his midot are rotten, right? He curses. He has no respect for other people, right? I don't want to tell you, Rabotai. The way he drives, the way he, etc. If you're not trying to be a better person, ulichvosh yitzro, and to try to conquer your yitzhara, ulitaken machshavotav, and to fix your thoughts that you shouldn't have bad thoughts, especially now in the summer, Rabotai, with what everything is going on. You know, honestly, I'm starting to realize, Rabotai, when I walk in the street, I don't walk with blindfold. I walk normally. I'm a human being. If somebody comes and models in front of you, you walk normally. You know, Shabbat Sarah. No, you walk normally. Let her pass in Shabbat Shalom. Rabotai, but honestly, I'll tell you why. I think I figured it out. Because when my wife goes to children's place to buy kids for children's clothing, right? It's always a sale. Always a sale children's place. So therefore, I'm thinking maybe they have parnasa problems, so they decide to buy everything short. They go children's place, they buy things in short, and that's why everything is seenable, because they buy clothes which are small. What is it? Is it hard to buy a little bit more material to cover the parts which belongs to your body? And that's what you have to do, Rabotai. And you should know, Rabotai, if a woman comes out, I heard a very big gadol say from Eretz, I don't want to say his name, I don't want people to get it the wrong way, but it's not from me. There's a very big gadol, he says, if a woman dresses in modesty, meaning prerogative, yeah, atkrita, whatever it is. Rabotai, he says, if she goes from the store, from point A, from her house, to the store to point B, and there are men that look at her, and these men, they stumble, meaning they do zar levatala, or when they're with their wives, they think about this woman. Rabotai, in Gehenom, first she's going to be judged because she made them stumble. That's called lifnei iver, lo titen michshol. Before a blind person, do not put a stumbling block. Yeah, go ahead, say, ask me whatever you want.
I just wanted to point out that there are a lot of supposedly tzniut women.
I was about to say this right now. You should know it's not tzniut. This is not tzniut. Just because she's wearing a mipachat and she's covering her hair doesn't mean I won't expect you. No. This is not tzniut, Rabotai. I tell you something. Sometimes you have women, they wear skirts all the way to the ankle, correct? But when she walks, there's a slit like this going up. I remember I saw somewhere, there's no greater sin than this. Why? Because all you got to do is leave a little opening for a guy to imagine. You know what, the guy, his mind starts working. But again, women don't understand this.
What about the tight?
Same thing. Tightness is a very big problem. Because it shows your whole body. It figures out your whole body. It's a very big problem. I agree with you 100%. Rabotai, I told you this before. Just because a person looks religious or dresses does not mean that they're religious. A person needs to learn the halachot. A person has to have a rabbi to ask him question, mutar, asur, etc. Rabotai, I just want to conclude with this. He says over here that anybody who transgresses this mitzvah by not trying to go in the proper ways, etc., and his not trying to rectify his deeds and his thoughts, to love Hashem, ulekayem mitzvah azot, and to fulfill this mitzvah, you are nullifying a positive commandment. There is a positive commandment to go in the ways of Hashem, meaning to go in His ways. When you don't do it, Rabotai, what you're doing is you're nullifying this positive commandment. And I'll give you a really quick, Rabotai. I know I'm over the time, 1 minute. Right? We said before, what it means. Right? One of the attributes we said was erech apayim, correct? Hashem is slow to anger. When was the last time that you were slow to anger, not to get angry with your kids or your wife or with your employees, etc.? Somebody cuts you off, you have to show them that you're the boss. That means you have to calm down, be slow to anger. That means going in his ways. What about Rav Chesed, Rabotai? When was the last time that you helped somebody that you knew that he doesn't deserve your help? But you know something? Hashem is kindful. I'm going to also be kindful. He doesn't deserve it, but I'm still going to give it to him. When was the last time? What about tzaddik v'yosher, Rabotai? What about in our business dealings? We try to always rip off the next guy. Oh, this guy has more money. This guy has more money. Rabotai, a person has to go in the ways of Hashem. What about being tamim, Rabotai? It's halakha in the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah brings down. To go being whole with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Rabotai. What about, how many of us? We're not like that. We're always looking for segulot. Why don't you just trust Hashem and go wholeheartedly with Him? We're going to have this, Rabotai. What about being gibur v'chazak? What about being strong? What's the Pirkei Avot say? Ezu gibur? HaKovesh et Yisro. Who's a strong person? The one that's able to conquer the evil inclination. How many of us are able to do it? You come home, the food is not ready. So what? That's the reason to start fighting with your wife. Or the husband comes home late. The wife starts screaming at the husband. Is that a reason to start screaming because he came late? Speak like a normal human being. And I'll tell you something, that Yaakov, there's one big problem. Today, the kids also, I tell you something today, we forgot what means human beings. We know what technology is, but there's no more human beings. You understand? Even dogs, you know, Sabaka, even dogs get better treatment than people. When a dog eats, we don't bother them. But when a husband eats, before he finishes his food. Rabotai, we have to try to be careful and respect towards one another.